Hello everybody, it's Perch back with another replay commentary today, and today we're going to be going over OD in the mid lane. But psych guys, it's actually Speed. I know I caught you off guard there, but we're going to be looking at how to win the mid lane. We're going to be following CCnC's OD. If you don't know who he is, he's the rank 1 player in North America. Very talented young man. And yeah, his OD is absolutely spectacular. So let's kind of figure out why it's so good. The mid lane role is for star players, which is why at GameLeap.com we've designed an in-depth course teaching you every trick and concepts pro players abuse to crush the middle lane. There's no better role than mid to solo carry your ranked games, so hit the discount link in the description below to unlock your unfair advantage. Alright, first thing briefly is item build, so just don't go the wrong items when you're playing mid. The things that pros go, it's not that like it only works in their bracket, it's unbelievably good. In fact, if you use what they use and just straight up copy people, you're going to do better and win MMR. I'm not kidding, just start copying pros. That's my first tip, so just look at this and literally copy it. First things first for OD, it's very important that if you see this range creep scenario come up, that you instantly Astral and try to secure range creeps. In general, your goal in the early stages is to use Astral in order to secure denies and, of course, last hits, right? Optimally both. So you notice he sees both the range creeps getting pressured here, but the Lina does a good job of securing her range creep, right? The range creep last hit, but it still manages to allow him to, you know, get at least one free CS. Next thing he has to take into consideration in this lane that I think most players wouldn't is his disadvantage in terms of attack range, right? So Lina's attack range compared to OD is pretty ridiculous. OD is 450, Lina is 670. That is insane, 220 attack range. So how do you deal with things like that? This is basically like a melee versus a ranged lane. How do you deal with that? Well, actually it's kind of simple, but the mechanic is creep aggro, right? In any of these lanes, you notice right when the Lina is astraled, he actually creep aggroes the top lane. I'm going to slow this down for you so you can see it, but creep aggro is global. So if you didn't know this, you can actually do this. So you're going to notice his camera randomly flicks to top here. He's going to issue an attack command top and use that to draw creep aggro. And yes, I guess that is something that you have to do if you want to become a rank 1 player. You have to creep aggro even when someone like Lina is astral. And basically he's going to continue doing it. It's really important that like if you're in any sort of meh lane, that you are literally spamming this mechanic, this tactic, which is creep aggro, because it is the savior of HP. If you do not do it as a safe laner, off laner, support, doesn't matter, in the lane, you will just take a lot of damage. Next thing to consider is how much regen he buys throughout this lane. So it's very simple. The first thing he does is he ships out a tango, right? So literally, even though he has shared tangos, he ships out 3 more because regen matters. And now, a minute and 20 in, he ships out, what do you know? A salve. It's almost as if he knows that Lina beats him early on, right? Lina's a hero, once again, with high attack range and obnoxious nukes. And as a result, if he does not buy the sustain and he dies once, it will snowball. This lane and Lina in general becomes very snowbally, so he's adjusting and even buying an extra salve. And you might be like, well, I don't want to trade my net worth speed. No. But you have to. You have no choice. So upcoming here is probably one of the most important things that I think people lack. You want to know how much damage your spells do in relation to the creeps. If you're playing Kunkka, you want to know what level of Tidebringer you need plus Torrent to kill the rage creep. These things are very important. And you notice here, when he goes for this Astral and Lina, he very clearly knows how much damage it does to the range creep. So the first thing he does while she's in the Astral is to hit the range creep twice. He knows with this Null Talisman and level 2 Astral that it kills the range creep, which means now, if you look at the situation that he's in, he has more creeps than the Lina, which makes the lane a little bit easier, right? You're trying to get at any advantage that you can. Next up here is what I like to call the forcing the issue when creeps are attacking your opponent. So what you want to be looking for a lot in the mid lane is, are my creeps hitting my opponent? If they are, you're very often in a state of advantage, meaning you can go aggressive or you can, you know, at least put them in a bad spot. So here, what we'll see is that these two melee creeps are on the range creep, right? And as a result, if this range creep is in here, what they're going to do next is hit the Lina, which is not optimal for Lina, of course. So what he does is that he auto-attacks the range creep, puts it in range for Astral, Astrals it up so that it will get the CS, and now these two melee creeps force the Lina to back on her tower, which gives him space to secure a deny, a CS, and once again, be in a position to just continue securing creeps without getting continuously auto-attacked. These little things, if you can use them against opponents who aren't sure what's going on, like the astraling a range creep or putting them under and nuking the range creep twice and getting yourself those little advantages, oh, they build up quick, especially if you're buying this regen as well. it can be insane how far ahead you get of opponents who don't do things like this. And yeah, now he's buying, I think is this his third salve? Regardless, he's buying multiple salves, multiple sets of tangos, and I want you to ask yourself, everyone, doesn't matter what role you are, how much regen did I buy in my last game? Now, mid lane is a bit excessive, right, because it's a big 1v1 and lane is a harass hero, but you have to ask yourself, am I sustaining enough, right? Or am I losing potentially okay matchups because I'm not willing to sacrifice a little bit of net worth? Because I want you guys to notice that now his CS is basically even with the Lina, which is very good for this lane early on. And his net worth is actually higher, and that's a big reason because Lina is also kind of going down the same route. She has most likely bought a lot of regen herself. Quick side note, guys, don't gank 3 minutes in. Like, so what I want to show here is an example of him picking up a kill on this axe, but the only reason why this is okay is because the axe is running towards him, okay? Like, I recently was watching a student's game, and his allied Ember Spirit ganked this lane with a haste at level 3. Please, please don't do it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it, because what you're going to do is kill a side lane, give the enemy team full HP, full mana, take a lot of the XP and the gold, miss a lot of creeps mid, and then leave the lane. How does that work? It does not work. Don't do that. And honestly, at this point, OD becomes very linear, so we'll kind of move on. You sort of just want to astral, deny creeps, and push in the lane, right? Once again, hitting the range creep, letting her drop, and pushing in the lane. Alright, quick little thing. I just want to make sure you understand how important it is to stare at the map. I'm sure there's basic communication going on here, as this is party queue. The Marona is actually Sumail, funny enough. But make sure you're paying attention to your supports. This is something I've told a lot of people where if you're not paying attention to your position 4's ganks, or even at least not acknowledging them, even if you think it's a bad idea and you don't go for it, at least acknowledge it, right? I see a lot of players just not pay attention, and it greases your support's games, right? They can't play because you're not paying enough attention to them, right? And that would be the case here. If he's not paying attention on the OD, the arrow might not connect and they won't get the kill, but, you know, now they get another kill. By the way, third salve, shipped it out. No joke. Guys, you have no choice. You just have to do it. You have to. All right, I have no idea if this will come up in your games or not, because typically what I've seen is cutting the wave is typically not a trend below 5 to 6k MMR, but if it does happen, this is exactly how you want to react. So as a mid laner, if you're jungling around the area, it's really, really convenient actually to run this person out, and in fact, it's extremely effective. So he's going to banish the axe, deny up a creep, and I'll put the axe in a very bad situation, right, where BSJ, the god of Dota, is going to come over and spin out the kill. But that's very important because this axe is actually one of the main enablers of the enemy team, right? They don't have the best initiation, besides, I guess, this position 4 Ember Spirit. So you have to understand, if you shut down a hero that's behind, it's unbelievably effective, right? If they're already behind and you kill them again, it's going to mentally destroy them. Like, first off, you have to look at it that way. Like, it literally mentally destroys them. If someone's 0-3 and you make them 0-4, like, that 4th death is, oof, brutal. But most importantly, it's their enabler, right? It's their initiator. So killing this guy, not only is it easy and preventing him from taking 2 full creep waves, but it's a big, big deal because he's going to be the ability for them to keep tempo, right? He's going to have to set up for LSAs, he wants to initiate so that the coddle can position well, and etc. Like, it goes on from there. So in this mini engagement here, I just want to pay attention to how he plays it. So you notice he's obviously paying a lot of attention to the Lina's cast animations because he's able to dodge an LSA there. Most importantly, I'm going to show how he plays around this Astral, right? So he gets off the Astral on the Lina. That's great. And he's like, okay, I could commit or I could back up here, right? These are his options. Most players run in here, 100%. They run in. They're like, oh, Lina was low, axe is low, here I go. But regardless, right, they would run in. But what he understands is that he has to play around his Astral cooldown, right? So now this coddle is running at him, who's apparently banished, which makes no sense. But instead of just running into the Lina or the axe, he manages to find this coddle that gets absolutely destroyed by this ancient camp. I'm sure he calculated that one as well. But once again, he's playing around the Astral cooldown, which is very important because it's a big damage spell. And it's actually, you know, what good players do is they're like, oh, he used Astral, he's easily killable now. So that's exactly how he looks at it. It keeps him alive. And that kiting in and out is a big characteristic of high MMR players that I've seen consistently over all the VODs I've been reviewing lately. Alright, what I want to point out here is unbelievably important for any sort of OD player. If you're OD, Medusa, any of these like pseudo safe laners that play mid, right? The heroes that like having items. You'll notice that in this game, he has not rotated to his side lane wants, right? He took the fight by the shrine because he walked through mid and was chasing Alina. He killed the axe because, as I explained, it's good when people are cutting to do that. But now here, he's making his first rotation at the 10-minute mark, right? This is pretty late in compared to a lot of players. The 10-minute mark to the bottom lane. I'm really trying to stress this. The earliest is 10 minutes. Typically, as he's farming heroes, rotating at all is a good way to just completely put yourself behind, period. Right? So really make sure you're considering that. Like, only TP to a side lane if you're 100% guaranteed this kill is going to happen. Otherwise, it is a waste of time on these farming cores, right? Because you notice here, even though while he's walking back mid, he has to painfully watch all of his fellow men go down to the tower. And what I mean by fellow men is creeps, right? You do not want to lose creeps as these flash farmers, and that's exactly what he's trying to avoid. Now here you can see the priority of him taking mid tower, right? OD is a hero that, once again, likes flash farming and has the capability to do it in the jungle when you get a lot of points into your abilities, but he actually puts more of a priority on mid tower, and this is a big characteristic of high MMR games, just because it opens up the map and allows you to smoke gank significantly more effectively, right? Because you can run through mid, you can catch people very easily, so it kind of opens up the map. Right, so surprisingly enough, which actually shocked me when I originally watched this game, is that he just always is sieging mid. But why can he siege mid here? This is very important, guys, because I see people there be like, Speed, I played OD right after this game, and I pushed him in tower and died to a 5-man gank. Well, okay, like, the reason why that happened is because you're not looking at the map. It's very simple, brother. You gotta look at the map, okay? He's looking at the map. He sees Coddle, he sees Wraith King, he saw the Lina earlier, and now he sees Axe. So he can do this, okay? You have to be staring at the map. As a core player, if you are not looking at the map, you are bad. That was kind of rough, but like, I don't know how else to put it. It's crazy how many movements you can read if you actually get good at watching the map. And I mean that. If I was to play a 2K game, or CCnC like this was to play a 2K, 3K game, he would essentially almost never die unless he got overzealous, right? If he just wanted to farm and split push the whole game, he would never get caught because players are consistently showing, and you can read movements, right, based on like how long it takes a hero to get there, what items they have, where can they TP, and if you equate all these things into it, yeah, it's very hard to die, and that's why you could push mid tower there. That's why it was safe, but usually you don't necessarily want to do that if you don't see anyone. All right, next up we have Veil of Discord. Oh my god, this item is broken. Just look at the stats on OD. If you do not go Veil in OD, you're out of your mind. It gives you armor, agility, and strength, which is all great on OD. Agility is attack speed, strength is HP, armor is armor, and HP regen is fantastic. But then you get 15 int. Why do you get 15 int? The only int item that goes into this item is crown. Why do you get 15 int? I don't know. But I'm not going to complain if I'm an OD player. Buy this item. Not only that, it works with your ultimate. It's a massive AoE similar to your ultimate, which is obviously going to make it deal significantly more damage. Same thing with Astral. So why would you not buy this item? Also, your ultimate works based on int, and this thing gives you 15 int and makes you tankier. Like, it's so good on so many heroes right now. I'm genuinely considering buying it on every single hero in the game. It's crazy how good Veil is right now. Feeder alert, feeder alert. Big noob. Rank 1 and still dies. Imagine being rank 1. I can't imagine it. But no joke, guys. Look how tanky he is here. So he's getting ganked. 2,000 HP 18 minutes in with 18 armor. Literally takes 0 damage. I mean, obviously he's getting saved too, and he has train armor, but like, it's unbelievable how good this build is. It doesn't lack damage, and it makes you invincible. It's crazy. Just to talk about OD spells for a little bit, because I don't think I really mentioned exactly what they do. Briefly, Arcane Orb is an AoE damage spell that does pure damage. It steals intelligence as well. Basically, it synergizes very well with your ultimate, right? You steal intelligence, and your ultimate is based on intelligence. The more intelligence you have compared to your opponent, the more damage it does, which is why you can one-shot people, especially agi carries who have low mana pools. Talking about your ultimate, it's an AoE damage spell that does magical damage and also steals 30% of the mana from affected heroes, meaning it just steals 30% mana. So it counters heroes like Animage and Wraith King in that regard, where you can steal their int and then even put them in range of not having reincarnation or not being able to blink. Equilibrium is probably one of the weirdest spells in the game that I think most people don't understand at all. And just to briefly go over it, it gives you 32% mana steal on any of your spells, and this includes Arcane Orb, Astral Imprisonment, and of course Sanity's Eclipse. So basically what you want to do in the laning stage when you Astral, especially, right, because it's AoE and it does a ton of this mana steal, it just works well. Basically, when the Astral is about to end, you turn on Equilibrium, it will slow, like when the Astral ends, it slows, and then you can continue to follow up with Arcane Orbs because they are slowed. So essentially you have to spam this spell, and that is why he maxed Astral. Very important to max Astral. Then he put 3 points in Equilibrium and started, you know, bringing up Arcane Orb. He finished off Equilibrium a little bit later on. Doesn't matter too much, but it seems like he thought the main number was at least 3 points. And honestly, like, guys, I want to show you, like, fights where he just explodes everyone. But comically enough, like, all he's doing in these fights is just eating spells. He ate a Call, Chains, Light Strike, everything. Coddle ult. And he's not dying, which is, you know, a really good healing ward, good living armor from his treant. It's this item build is what enables him, right? The triple null with strength treads and veil is unbelievable. He would totally be dead with greedier builds like some early Kaya with brown boots or something like that sort. So for the most part, he's been farming with his team this game. He had recently picked up bounty runes, and this is basically the only time he's jungling. So his team's kind of just shoving in the lanes, right? Muran and Sinking are getting in bottom. The Treant's sort of just sapping mid. BSJ on the Juggernaut, being the god gamer of never going into the dead lane and pushing in top. But in general, you notice he pushes in a couple of jungle camps, but then immediately gets back to the wave. And this is the general farming pattern that you want to look for on these heroes. Jungle wave, jungle wave, jungle wave. Do not just jungle. It does not work. It is slow. Yes. Is it an option? Is it possibly viable? Of course it's possibly viable. Not optimal though. And you notice because of his farming patterns always going back sort of towards the waves, he'll be in positions for a fight if really needed. And this is what I mean by like supports when I tell them to push out waves. They're like, oh, but my team takes a fight. How far possibly away could you have been? Like, I don't know where you're going. Like, yes, he's top right now. And this is probably what everyone means when they're like, eh, my team, but like, no, people are farming anyway. Like, half the time fights don't even break out. Like, it's such an over-exaggeration because you notice you can do things like this and take even this role if your teammates aren't doing it. And this is the time where he's, you know, getting his items and enabling himself to get this hex, right? He kind of slows down the game a bit. And this is clean when you're ahead. I like this. This is what I mean by, I said this in the video yesterday about the myths. When you're ahead, you do not have to just run high ground, right? They do not run high ground immediately. They do not, right? Not even close. They do not even go close to the high ground. What did they do instead? They use their item advantage to get more items. That is it. An item advantage also enables you to get more items. It's that simple. And what they do, what do you know? They'd go take Roche. This is Dota in a nutshell. Obviously, it's not necessarily OD specific, but this is very important just in Dota, so I have to point it out and really want to point it out. BSJ and Quinn taking the Roche, and they managed to get it. And this is how you want to play from ahead, right? So you have a good laning stage, which you can clean up with all the tips I've given you in this video. Then you can go into the mid game, shove some waves, take the jungle camps nearby, maybe take some clean fights, veil some people up. And going into fights like this, you notice basically your goal is to steal end. And the only reason why he's diving tier 4s is because he has a treant and, you know, a healing word to back him up. Otherwise, this is just a trash play. In fact, I think it's like generally a bad play anyway. It's risky is what it is. Maybe it's not bad because he's getting a lot of ints, right? But once again, he has living armor and he has healing words. So do not do this in your pubs. But obviously trying to chip int and hit people once or twice is a good option. If you can hit someone once and back, it's like Slark in the laning stage. It's very beneficial. Now, in terms of using your ulti, I think a lot of people become very stingy with it. You notice he has 24 intelligence right now, which means that he has around like, what, 170 or 180 at the moment. Wraith King currently has 45, so there's a slight intelligence difference going on right now. And he identifies the fact that, you know, Wraith King has this issue, veils him up, drops the hammer, and it deletes the enemy hero. And this is sort of how the game goes. So yeah, it was kind of a stomp. The lanes definitely went well for them. So hopefully next video or next replay analysis I'll go over, it'll be a closer game or even a losing match from the losing perspective. Let me know if you guys would be interested in even like some losing perspectives to see like kind of what's going wrong. More so than what's going right. But yeah, this has been OD. I don't have too much more to say. I think the hero is like pretty straightforward, which is why it's such a great mid lane hero. You play mid very similar every single time. A lot of creep aggro, you astral, make sure you're securing the range creep. You jungle up, you push in some waves, you build some mint in the fights, you kite around with your astral, and then you ulti. And obviously it's a, you know, not that simple, but the last point I want to make before ending this video for you guys is in the fights, you typically want to stay on the outside, right? Especially pre-BKB, right? So when you have your BKB, you can go in deep. But until then, you have to see kind of back, right? Do not just jump in. You notice, look at his positioning. See how it's relative to his carry? I really like this, right? Because now he's like, okay, I can kind of assess the situation and see what needs to happen. Right, so he's just poking in and out, not overcommitting. Now he sees a little bit of a gap to hit the Wraith King a few times, not necessarily with the full intent of killing him. But look, now the enemy team has to commit here. Imagine if he's standing over here, but they have to overcommit. Like, it's that simple. And a quick little tip here, right? So if you astral yourself and you have a blink, it won't get canceled and you can blink out, which is the reason why blink is so good on this hero. Good for offensive capabilities and defensive capabilities. So fantastic item on OD. But yeah, positioning is very important in the fights. He's trying to stay out of vision so that he doesn't get hit by every single spell in the book, even though he probably wouldn't die in a game like this, funny enough. But right, that's the general idea. Build up int, not get caught by all their spells, and then blow people up with your ultimate if you were to have it. And that's going to be it for today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed and learned about OD and want to try him in your upcoming matches. I'd be interested to see kind of how it goes, so let me know. And yeah, ping me in the Discord if you happen to play OD. Otherwise, don't talk to me. Kidding. Bye. Tired of being held back by your team? At GameLeap.com, we have pro guides covering some of the best heroes in the game to solo carry your ranked games, as well as a course specifically covering the mid lane role. Click on this link right now to take advantage of our special offer for a 25% discount and start your journey today.